All right, so this is part 2 of the brake caliper install or rebuild, and this is kind of what we're looking for. We wanted to make the brake calipers not look like a bundle of rust sitting between these nice spoked rims. So, you know, just break them down and let's paint them and make them look nice. So at the end of part 1, they were in a sorry state. They were all broken down. We had taken all the seals out, and they were just sitting in a pile of rust. And so it took a little time, but we managed to get all the rust off. Here's a picture of them when they got all cleaned up. And then after that, we prepped them up for paint. The idea behind that is to you know, you don't want anything where there's any bolts are going to get connected. You don't want any paint on the bolt surfaces, any of the, because then you got something between the two and you'll lose your torque. And so any of the places where the bolts were going to be connected or any of the mating surfaces, they were taped off. Here's a look at that. There you go, all cleaned up, de-rustified. I got it all taped up, all the places where I don't want to get any paint. I'm getting ready to put some paint on these babies, and I'll show you after I get the tape off what they look like. There you go. All right, so then after we painted those, you can see what they look like. We let them cure for a while because you know, once you get something nice and shiny, you don't want to start touching it because then you'll lose the shine. So we laid them out on the counter for a while and let them cure. And while we were waiting on our parts from Abingdon Spares, we were able to find all the right parts and do a little research on how to make this next step go smoothly. All right, so we're going to put these seals in. These are this is the part number right here. You can see. I'll post the place where I bought it. I think I bought this on Abingdon in the description. This comes with enough of seals to handle both sides. So you have 4 sets. Each set is comprised of one seal that has kind of a V in it. It has a ring, and then it has a kind of a thinner one. The order here is the retaining ring holds the one with the V, and then this smaller one that doesn't have anything on it, it's the actual seal that seals in the brake fluid, and that will go down inside there. So this material, this kit comes with some goo. I've already cut out some stuff here. I'm going to go ahead and apply some goo on here just to make sure this thing is nice and lubed up. I keep saying this on so many videos. Anytime you're dealing with rubber, you always want to make sure it has some sort of lubrication. That way it won't get pinched and it won't get stuck. I'll take a little bit of lube. I'm going to run this around. I've already cleaned out the inside here, got as much of the rust and debris and whatnot out of here as I could. And I'm going to put some goo in this just to make sure that that seal can slide down in there and then it'll bond right. Okay, so let's get busy pressing this one in. All right, so you take the one with the V, go ahead and put it in there, and so that it's in the little cap. You want to set this on here. Now, what you're going to notice on here, before I get too far, there's a bevel around the outside edge here. That bevel is where you want to set this ring. You don't want to set the ring straight into the edge, because then it'll stick out on one side. So you want to get it situated evenly all across this little bevel on the outside here. So let me get with that. See, like this is too far. You don't want to do this and then have to play catch up. You want to start evenly spaced all the way across the bevel. Get 4 points on it. you should be able to see it bite just a little tiny bit. Now, Moss sells a special tool for this. Let me post a quick picture of that. And that tool is designed to grab it and push it all in one go. I have a little different idea here, and then I've cut out a little piece of wood that I'm going to use to press this on with a C-clamp. But before you get to that point, you need to get this to bite. So since you got it all nice and even in this little edge on the bevel, I'm going to give it some little taps. And what you're doing here is just trying to get it past that bevel without getting it canted. See, like right there, I went too far. You don't want it to pop out of one side or the other. You can pull it back out and start over again. So you want to get the whole thing square on the bevel and just get it to bite. There we go. There, now you can feel. I got a good bite all the way across. Now, I'm going to put this on and I'm going to clamp it down with a C-clamp. We're there. Pretty close. There we go. And see how it's nice and even all the way across. Now we're going to go ahead and put the center ring in. Get a little goo. Get that nice and lubed up. This one's a lot easier. You just stick it in there, grab one side with one hand and kind of coax it around. It'll flop right in. Here you go. Now you should have enough of that goo in there to just get around and lubricate that. All right, nice and lubricated. All right, so the next thing here, we're going to put the piston in, but on these pistons you'll notice they have an opening. There's like a C comes across here, and then there's an opening right here that has no contact with the brake shoe. What you want to do is orient that away from these little ears, these little pointers right here. You want the opening to come this way, away from those little ears. So setting that up. I'm going to get it past the first seal. You know what? I'm going to get a little more lube. I'm going to put it on this thing. I think a little too much, but I'll put that in here. All right, so with the C open and oriented away from these little ears, and slide this baby in. Oh yeah, that dude made all the difference. If you keep it nice and level, you should be able to feel it. Here we go. As long as you don't get off in a weird direction, it should go straight in. There we go, just like that. Yeah, just like that. All right, so rinse and repeat. Do the same thing on this one, and then we'll get the two of them together. So I'll pick it up after we get to that point. Okay, with both the cylinders in place, again with those C's oriented away from those little tabs, the last little piece we need to put in before we marry these two together is this little O-ring. I'm going to put a little bit of goo on that too, just to keep it nice and pliable. It goes in right here. Okay, now when you're putting these together, since you had both of them apart, make sure that you don't have the blink going on the O-ring. Make sure that you have the opening, basically saying that you have the right cap going on to the right caliper. Now these calipers have two different kind of bolts. I kind of mentioned that in the first part. These with the shank go in on the spindle. They can get connected to the suspension. These with the full threads go in right here. There we go. So we'll go ahead and tighten and torque those. One other thing that you may want to do while you have it on the bench here is loosen the bleeder. It might be difficult to get to when you get in there, but if you break these threads and just crack it, make sure you don't break it off, obviously, but you know, get a good bite on it and loosen this thing up. It'll be a lot easier once you get to where you're bleeding the brakes. Okay, so I think that's about all I can cover today for rebuilding the brake calipers. Hopefully this was helpful to somebody who was trying to make a decision about whether they should buy new or just you know, rebuild what they've got. I will make one note. Some of the stuff on here does not apply to MGAs. I know a lot of stuff crosses over between the MGs and the MGBs, but the brake calipers are quite different when it comes to the MGAs. So that's all I have for today. Make sure you subscribe, make some comments if you have any questions or comments. I'd be glad to learn more from you, as well as pass that information on to other people who are watching these videos. Cheers!